Welcome to QMetry Test Management for Jira product walkthrough webinar. My name is Nimesh and I'm a QMetry product specialist. So before we move forward, let me just brief you about myself. So I am associated with QMetry for quite some years now. I have been part of teams which implements test management solution to different customers, and at core I'm a technology enthusiast, and I love implementing technology solutions which helps companies and organizations to make best of their resources, save time, and come up with the solutions and softwares which are world class. So today we are going to see the product walkthrough of the test management tool, which is on Jira. So it is a plugin on Jira Marketplace, which is simply you can implement it. So we are going to see this in some more detail. So let me just tell you about Geometry Test Management for Jira. So with the evolution of the product, with it went through a lot of cycle of adding things which are being requested by the customers. So a close feedback loop that we are getting. So we can confidently now say that Cumulative Test Management for Jira app is a comprehensive test management solution available inside Jira. And in recently we have made a lot of stride in adding traceability, coverage, some AI related features into this application. I'll be going through them one by one. So the agenda for today's session is going to be showing you this whole thing. So first we'll start with the installation and enablement, then we'll go to the help and support section. So and I'll show you how to leverage that. Then we'll see how to configure cumulative test management app in your existing project, how to do test authoring inside your Jira, test execution and planning, and how to create reports which are suitable to your requirement. And then we'll see some interesting features in exploratory testing and automation testing. And at the end, we will see some of the revolutionary first of its kind into test management segment, which is some AI related initial strides that Qmetry has made. So I'm going to demonstrate those as well. I hope my screen is visible to all. Okay, so this is one of my instance, a cloud instance. This is my Jira cloud instance, and let me just show you this one of the project that I have in front of me, which is for an ERP system. Now, how to enable cumulative test management for Jira app inside your Jira instance is that you go to the project setting, go to app, right? And here you will have a option for Qmetry permissions. Directly it will not have a permission. So first you have to download the Qmetry test management for Jira application. So let me show you how you can do that. So one way of doing it is to go to Atlassian Marketplace, look for Qmetry test management for Jira app, QTM4J. So here it is. This is the app, and you can start a free instance, and it will show it under this app section. And you should be able to, you just have to go through these steps. It is very easy, and with the Jira admin credential you should be able to enable the test management for Jira app for rest of the user, right? And another way is to, you can directly look for app inside the explore more app section, right? So in that case also you have to look for Qmetry test management for Jira app, and you will find it. It's pretty straightforward. So now let me go into the app section and explain you about Qmetry permissions. So first we are enabling the Qmetry test management for Jira application. And these are all the permissions. And before that, let me go to the project setting menu. So the idea here is that we want to make sure that what kind of a Jira inherent issues that we are going to use for our test management requirement. So first thing we are going to do is that we are going to enable a test management for Jira app for this particular project. And the basic thing about test management is that we want to make sure that what are we going to take as a Jira issue to be associated with my story, and the bugs that we are going to link as my bug or blockages. And we are reusing the inherent Jira features in a way that helps us, do both those things. So for example, in my story, what I am going to consider as a story, which is going to be which is going to be improvement, story, task, everything, right? So it could be a, a more than one, which can be configured as a Jira story types. And what should I consider as a bug, right? So this, I've made it enabled, and all of this Jira issue can also be recognized as a bug for me, right? So, and this is here, we QMetry for test management for Jira app also allows enablement of a BDD panel into your story page. So we will go through some detail into that, but the point I'm trying to make is that I will be able to access my feature files through my version control system directly to my Jira story page. It's a wonderful thing, and we'll go into some details. And there's another part which is called email notifications. So how and when should I be notifying the users about a test case being assigned to me, or a status has been changed, right? So this kind of a configuration is also available here. Now, going to the Qmetry permissions. So Qmetry test management for Jira app allows a granular permission on the each test assets or test management asset or a module. So for example, if I wanted to allow a certain group of people or a single user to have a specific kind of a permission on my testing app, I can do it. So for example, here I want to make sure that a certain group of people should be able to view the test case and not create it. So that can be managed. So here I will type, let's say, Nimesh. So this person will only have the view permission, right? So that can be made available to test cycles, plans, configurations, exploratory testing, reports, etc., etc. So the point I'm trying to make is that our our approach to test management is that when where there is a certain group of people who should be accessing certain things and not the other, so that can be made available to the rest of the users. Now going to the core part of test management, let me go to the app section here, Qmetry app, and as I go there, so core function of test management, which is this part, and here underneath that there will be a specific options. Right, so we'll spend most of the time in test management, but before that I would like you to see some other things, right? So I'll skip the exploratory testing because it is already in the agenda. We will cover it later, but before that, let me go to the configure section. So whenever we are utilizing a test management app for a particular project, we want to make sure that if I wanted to cover additional information, so that our option should be available to me. So for example, if I wanted to cover additional labels, components, so these are all we can create. Of course, I can add description, create custom components and labels, so that is possible. So these are all the priority for Jira issues, which or test cases, right? So if you wanted to create a custom priority, I can do it. Then there is a status, right? So it gives a default option such as done, in progress, reject, or to do. But let's say tomorrow a project requires me to have a different kind of status, I should be able to do it. Then there is a custom fields, right? So the project may require some custom fields to be part of my project settings, right? So that I will be able to capture more information about the project. So I can do that. And I can also, and that custom field can be added to not just my test cycles, test cases, but my test cycles, my plans, and my execution as well, which is true for all of these as well. Then there is a parameters. So this parameter is a testing of a test case against certain set of data. meaning that the test has to be has to be tested again certain set of values, and you don't have to, you don't have to test it by writing manually to test it against each kind of data. So that's why we call it a parameterized testing, right? So for example, here I've taken the password and I can call these parameters into my test cases even when required, and then it allows me to not just write this test data one by one, but simply calling it, and I should be able to test this against these values. Now test executions, right? So these are my execution status: block failed, work in progress. Again, I have to add certain things. I can add it. Environment, right? So I can add different environment and builds, which is quite explanatory. I should be able to do it, right? And QMetry comes with the comprehensive set of APIs. We will, and this is the API key, and we'll go into some details during the demonstration. This is just re-indexing and certain preferences that I would have, meaning that, for example, it allows or exec depending upon the project requirement, I would want to make sure that once I um, pass or fail a certain test case, should it also fail or pass test steps as well. So that is something which we should be able to configure, and the execution result button, how it should look. General settings is basically how many records should I be looking at one go. This is a comprehensive audit log that is available. Who has done what at what time? So for audit purposes, this is going to be very good and quite useful. And this is support, external support, where we are running some external application for a migration and other things. So that's where this is going to come into the picture. Now coming to the automation part. So before we'll take up to the automation part, let me go to the help and support guideline. So QMetry test management for Jira provides a 24/5 uh, support to all the application to support our customers. There is a portal where you can go, and it comes with the comprehensive guideline where which is updated very regularly on the real-time basis, where you can get latest specs and everything, where you will get all the information. Now going to the user guide section, I was talking about automation part. Let me go to the automation. So there are basically two ways to uh, import a test case into my test management tool. What we can do is that we can use a test management automation frameworks, and we can import it through our plugins, or I can import a test results through APIs. And these are all the very popular plugins that QMetry test management for Jira application supports. So there is an option to, you know, initiate or start your Jenkins pipelines, which will import test results into your test management tool under a new cycle, right? And same is true for Bamboo, and there is an option to do it through Maven plugin as well. And QMetry test management for Jira also provides a REST API, wherein which irrespective of the tool, you should be able to import test results automatically. And the configuration of all this will be given here in some details. So these are all the popular framework that QMetry also supports, and you just have to click here and it will provide you a comprehensive detail as to how to configure that. Now, so that was about automation. Now let me go to the test case import. So, in an organization, what we have to do is that we may not be, creating testing one by one, but there should be an option to import a test cases, right? So QMetry test management for Jira application allows you to import from the Excel and a CSV file to with or without a parameters value, right? So you can import test case directly into your test management uh, tool. So let me just show you some details here. So for example, here this is the test case creation, and there is a comprehensive guide also available. Import test cases. So here is the option, right? So it also comes with a quick search as well. So this is the import function. So here is the import function. You have to have the CSV file in a certain file format. Here is the option. We'll go into some details in later in the video, right? So you can provide story linkages as well. So it will directly link to your Jira story. You just have to provide the IDs for the same. So I think this is for the test. This is for the user guide. So directly, let me jump to the actual product demonstration. Right. Okay. So I go to the test management part of the for the session. So test management is basically divided into four parts, right? Test cases, test cycles, test plans, and test reports. This user interface is quite intuitive and designed in a way that it can mold itself to the requirement of the kind of role I'm playing. So, for example, if I'm a manager, it should look and prioritize the information to show me in a way that suits for a managerial role. So we'll see that. So going to the test case, it allows me to create it allows me to create folders as per my requirement. So I can create folders, subfolders, and I can segment them as per the project requirement. So here, if you see here, I've created certain test cases. There are 43 of them, and if you see here, and there are folders as well. And if you see here, it captures a certain information as per how I want it will be shown to me. And if I click here, it would shows me the additional details as well. So for example, for this particular test case login module, it gives me directly an information. I don't even have to go inside the test case. So step summary, test case data, execution results, and all those details is directly available to me, and I can add those details from here also. And into my view, if I want to see a certain information to be available to me, for example, if I wanted to see labels as well, right? So it allows me to add a window for a labels, right? So that possibility is also available to me. So now going into the details of a test case. So I've clicked on the test case, and if you see here, it allows me to show you test steps, details, execution, stories, comments, and attachments. Let's go through them one by one. So here is the test case that I have already created. So let me just prioritize it for you. So let's just see the detail first. So there is a test case description available to me. If there is a precondition, I should be able to add it. This is my folder path. Priority here is medium. My status is to do. Assignee is Nimesh. Reporter is same right now. And if I wanted to capture additional information such as components, labels, and the sprint which is association with, and some additional fields such as module type, which we have already seen at the time of configuration. Now going to the test steps. So these are all test steps, is test summary, test data, and expected results. So for example, if I'm testing a login module, I should be able to enter a name and a password, right? And I wanted to check it against a certain combination of password and username. So if you remember, we have discussed this while creating a parameterized testing. So here I've called for a parameter which is name is username and a password. If I wanted to add some, I can add another parameters and whatever the value may be, right? So I'm not adding it right now, but I'm calling this at the time here. So it will allow the tester to test a certain test case against certain values. Now going to my executions. Sorry, before going to the execution, let me also show if this is the version 2 of my test case, meaning that if I wanted to go back to my previous versions, I should be able to do it. And I can also create the new version of the same test case with the different details, right? I should be able to do it. Now, and this I should be able to archive the same. Now going to the execution part. So how many times this test case has been executed before? So it will show you all the execution where this test case was run. For this, I think this is the one execution which it was run, and here it says it was passed. And who has run it? So it gives you all the details and the story association. So here, if you see, this test case is executed for a story like this. So this many stories where it should be executed, and if I click on the link story button, it it allows me to see the list of all the stories which are part of my Jira, and I can also create a new story if and when I required. So for example, if I wanted to be added to this story as well, which is ERP40, and I should be able to do it. Not just that, I should be, so this test case, this story is already linked. Not just that, if I wanted it to be linked to a story which is part of another project, I should be able to do that also. So this is my story linkages. So let me go to this story, which is ERP5. So this was my story. And if you see here, this is the description, right? And these are all the linked issue. So this, because there is a linkages to my story with this cycle, it allows me to automatically link a defects or a bug even when that occurs, right? And these are all the test coverage, meaning that these are all the test case that should be run for this particular story. So if you see here, this was the latest one that was associated with particular story. If I click here, at your Jira instance and your Jira screen, also you should be able to see the details, or you should be able to add additional steps as well. So there could be multiple test case that needs to be run in order to completely cover the story. So there are 10 test cases that needed to be run. And QMetry also allow you to link your Jira stories with your test cycles as well. So for example, with this particular story, this test cycle was configured. So in this particular test cycle, if you see how many test cases were part of their statuses, how many percentage were failed, passed, and how many defects were raised. Thus, that is available. And while the execution of that particular cycle, if the defect was raised, it will automatically be reported under the linked issue section. So for example, this is the linked issue, which we'll see in some details. And like I was mentioning about earlier, that QMetry test management for Jira app also allows you to configure your uh, CI/CD pipelines and also your repository. It allows you to also configure your Git repository. So let me go into detail. So here I've configured my Bitbucket repository. Here it gives me a branch, a main folder, file names. So I can also change it, and if I wanted to configure a different file, it allows me from my Bitbucket repository. So it directly gets your Gherkins editor within inside your Jira story. And if I am making some changes here, it will. So for example, let me change here something, and I would say okay, and this allowed me a push. So it will change the source of uh, this Gherkin file in my Bitbucket repository. It will be changed. So what it will do is that it will keep sync between the automated and manual testing team. So that is also a part of the QMetry for test management for Jira applications. So we'll see linkages also, how it automatically happens. So what basically we have done is that we have linked the story with my test cases. And if I there is a running commentary happening between the testers, so that can also be done. There is a comprehensive audit log which is available, and there is an attachment if I wanted to add it. Now going back to this section, there is also one important thing I wanted to show is that QMetry allows, for example, if I wanted to see the details, if and when I open the test case, it allows me, but as a tester, I would want to see the test step first. If I go back now and if I open it again, so it shows me the test step before, because as a tester, I would want to see the steps first. So that is what I was talking about when I said the intuitive design. It also allows you to bulk, clone, or export into CSV and Excel file or into a different project as well. It can also link it with the bulk linking with the cycles also, or a story as well. I can update it also. For example, if I'm assigning it to a particular status, I should be able to do it. I can assign it to particular user also. I will be able to do it. So bulk update is also possible. Now, this was the part of my test cases. Okay, let's also see the import function. Like I was saying, that you can bulk import test cases from Excel or CSV file. All you have to do is that you have to mention the test data and the steps inside your Excel, and you should be able to, after the mapping of the field, you should be able to bulk import the test cases also. For more information, you should refer to the guideline. Now going to the test cycles. So test cycle is basically a combination of test cases, meaning that for a certain set of execution or a timeline, I should be running this test cases. So for example, here I've created this many test cycles. And let's open this TR12 test cycle. So this is the details, almost same as what we have seen in the test cases. And for this test cycle, there are 70 test cases which are associated with the test cycles. As you can see, similarly, you will have an option to filter it, option to see what you want to see it, and you want to add certain test cases into that option is also available. And the status is, you will also be able to add steps at any point from here also, right? So let me just, and there is association. So I was mentioning earlier, that I can also associate a test cycle with my story. So for example, this is TR12 cycle, which is associated with this particular story. And if you want to see, so this is my Jira story, and that associated with my cycle as well. So what this will, bidirectional association, what this will do is that if and when I run a test cycle and there is a blockage or a bug, it will automatically create a bug issue uh, as a linked issue under this story. Then there is an attachment, comments, and audit logs. So let me just directly execute this test cycle, and as I do it, so these are 17 tests. I can execute them one by one. So this is the one that we are looking from the beginning. So this is my test case details that is already we have seen, and these are all the executions, actual execution. If you remember, we have done it as a parameterized test cases. So if you see here, under this section, enter username, and this is my test data. So for each set of test data, it create a different step. So that is what we call as a parameterized test cases. Here I will be capturing environment, build, assigning execution by, actual time and number of steps, and if there is a bug raised in the bug count, and if there is an attachment or not. And if I so chooses it to be a pass, it will automatically assign all of this as a pass. And if I so choose it to be a failed, it will fail the all the steps. Now this is something, it is depends upon the teams how they want to run it. So it is something which is part of the configuration. I should also be able to start a new execution with the different details. I don't have to add all those things. I can straight away start a new execution as well. Now let me go. If let's say I ran into some kind of issue here, I should be able to create a bug. So here I will be able to create a bug. Let me just create one. Let's say demo 203. I'm taking it. I simply create it. So the bug has been created, has been raised. So what should ideally do is that it should also automatically link it to my story as well. So as you can see here, so the bug was automatically linked under the issue section related into my story as well. So it in a way it enforces traceability for for the teams as well. Now if I wanted to run a bulk operation into my execution, I should be able to do it. For example, if I wanted to update them uh, under new assignee or environment or a build, I should be able to do it. Or maybe I wanted to assign it under new test execution, I should be able to do it. Or maybe I wanted to assign it to a particular user, I should be able to do it. There is an also option to sort and group. So for example, execute and assign, this is one of the popular way to for me to know that how many test cases are assigned to me. So I should be looking at them only. So that's the way. So these are all grouped and divided between three categories here, right? Now it allows you to multiple views as well. For example, here, if you wanted to see them as like this, you should be also able to do it, right? So depending, because a lot of the user may come from the background of Excel. Now going back to the original view, and it will also give you the summary, right? For this particular test cycles, there's this many 13s are not executed, failed, and passed and booked. So it gives you the summary for test cases, bugs, and attachments as well for this particular test cycle. It also gives you the summary for the, so it will also give you the execution logs comprehensively. Now going back to my test execution cycles. So these are all, I think this is, I think I've covered all the test execution cycles. Now going to test planning. So test planning is basically how I plan my cycle to be executed. So for example, if I'm running multiple cycle and I wanted to plan it accordingly, I should be able to do it. So these are all the details. These are all test cycles that I'm planning it to be completed within certain time. So this is my test plan basically. So within this plan, there are this many cycle I should be running. These are all the attachment, comment section, audit. We have already seen that. QMetry also allows you to get you the comprehensive test reports. So we have a lot of widgets and what kind of a project depending upon the user, I should be able to create it, and not just for a particular project. I should be able to create for across the project lines. So for example, if I wanted to see a report by assignee for a multiple project, let's say policy market, and I want to generate it. So for example, so this two project in which Brijesh Rupal, these are all the testers amongst which the project has been divided. So I should be able to generate it. I should be able to export this details with or without steps if I want so wishes to choose, and I should be able to save it and generate it, which then can be used later purposes also. Right, so these are all the options by which I should be able to create a lot of reported, for example, manual versus automated, plan versus not planned, and this is by test execution. Right, the same thing can be done by test execution. And now this is very important, a traceability report. So it gives you a bidirectional traceability. For example, if I wanted to create a report by defects for this two project, It's a policy market, and if I generate it, so it gives you the traceability by the defects. For example, this defects was created by running this cycle and against this test cases. And if there is association with the story or a requirement, which will also be there, right? So this kind of a reverse traceability also is possible. So for let's go with the test cycles as well. So here this test case was run against this test cycles. There was no association with the story. Here there was, if you remember TC5, this was the story. This was the test case which was run against this story, and this many cycle it was run. Right, so that gives you the idea about how we can create different kinds of reports as and when we required, and by requirement also we can run it. This can be saved as a widget, then it can also be added to my Jira dashboard, right? So that is also possible. Now going back to the some important function which was left to discuss as a part of a new initiative which is being taken care of by QMetry, which was some of the AI initiative that we have made. So let me go to the AI part, how we are leveraging artificial intelligence into our test management requirement. So I go into my Jira project, I go into my app. Under the QMetry intelligence section, so there are three ways how we see AI can be useful in a testing environment. For example, if I'm running a test case for a multiple time and I'm not getting a consistent result, and I wanted to make sure that I should be able to definitively assign it to the degree which it is fluctuating. So that is what we are saying it as a flaky test case. So it will assign a test flakiness of a test case between 1 to 0. So for example, 0.8 flakiness of a test case would be somewhat not reliable, meaning that it is quite flaky, meaning it deviates from your natural behavior. So this we are running it against the existing data, right? How to configure and everything is available here, and you can also refer to the support guideline for that. We are also running a success rate. Basically, we are determining success rate of a particular test case, right? So that is also configure something which we can configure against your testing environment. And there's one more thing that we've recently added, which is ask me anything. So what we are trying to do is that we're trying, in order to increase the efficiency of the tester, we want to make sure that the information that which will help them into the testing ability will be available to their convenience. For example, I should be able to search for, so let me go to the test management section. Let me show you in how in real time how it works right now. Into my test management section, if you see, let me add a flakiness section and also a success rate. So if you see here, this is the success rate and a flaky score. For example, 0 meaning it does not deviate from their ideal output or results after running it multiple times, and the success rate is 100%. Right? So this gives the information as to how reliable the execution result could be. Now going back to the AI powered search functionality, and this can be configured against project document as well. And here I will have an option to run some queries. So for example, if I wanted to say how to import test cases, so it will get me the information um, from my project document as well as from the documents of the QMetry. And if there is no information available, of course it is going to render it. So for example, if I wanted to know the information and I don't want to look for inside the guidelines, so for example, I would search it from here, And this model can also be trained for the project documents, meaning that the tester don't have to actually look for the project documents for a particular information. So for example, under the project document section, I said Cypress integrations. So it will find me the information and the source link. So it makes the tester's life easier for them to look for a particular first-hand informations. Of course, this is the AI generated data may vary and can provide a general information as well. So I think this covers the testing test management AI initiative by QMetry. Now this is the last thing I wanted you to see is that what we call as an exploratory testing. So for example, as a tester, if I'm testing in a web application, there is a better way to do it. So QMetry gives you out of box a, a tool for exploratory testing for mostly a web application. So I've configured it. Let's say I open the QMetry website for me to test it. Here it allows me to configure a session. For example, under this project, which we are already testing, as we know, this session is, let's say, QMetry website test, and environment is automatically noted. And within that, if I wanted to log a defect from the visible portion of my screen, so here it directly automatically allows me to notate things. For example, this is something which is wrong or spelling mistakes. For example, I say spell mistake. I should be able to do it. This is the priority, and I will log a defect. So what this will do, it will create a bug inside my Jira project, and this would be the ID. So let me just open it. So this is my Jira instance. So it created a bug with the screen as an attachment. I should be able to view it, and it also get you the information about the environment. So it automatically captures the details or where and when it was tested. So for example, it was tested for this URL against which environment. So it makes your web testing quite easy and efficient. And I can also done a recorded session as well. So for example, I go to the session, login, I would start testing again, web testing 401, let's say, and sorry, web testing 401, and I start a recording. So what this will do is that it will start recording my screen activity, the things I click on, the places I go, all those things. And if I find something to be recorded, I should be also able to add text notes, also report a bug. So let me pause it for a second and I report a bug. So it will capture the visible part of my screen. I would say not right, and I will log it as a bug. So what this basically do is that it comprehensively test at the same time allows you to report things in a real time. Let me just end this session, for example, save recording. So now let me go to the exploratory testing section. So the entire session that we have just seen will be seen. So this was the session that I just ran right now, web testing 401k 401. So if you see here under this section, all the screens was recorded, and here it also get me the information as to where I have clicked on. So on the click event, it documents everything. So it prepares a document where it automatically captures the screen as an attachment, test summary, and the test data and executed result. So it's a wonderful tool for testing a web application. Now, if you see event details also, and if I created any defects, so this one was created. Now I wanted to save this execution as a test case, then I should also be able to do it. So for example, I have created as a test case. Here, as you can see, so the entire information was captured, details are available, and the screens were attached as an attachment. So this was what we call as an exploratory testing. I think this ends the session for me. I hope you liked it. Please raise a question if you have any. Thank you.